Do you remember the things in middle school you promised yourself you would never do in high school? The clothes you said you would never wear, the music you promised you would never be into, the trends that definitely weren't your vibe. So many of us enter high school thinking things like, I would never do that. I'm never gonna date him. I will never try that. And then, well, we do. Yes, this happens with simple things like music preferences, but it also happens in areas of our lives that are a bit more complicated. I'm talking about substances that we put into our body, words that we use, the people we become influenced by, the things we do with our bodies, and the ways that we treat our parent or step-parents. The list goes on and on. In fact, if we're really honest with ourselves, for some of us, the person we thought we would never be is exactly who we're becoming. Here we are in the reality and aftermath of all the things that we said we would never do. And we faced all the same questions once we got here. What do I do now? Some of us keep making the same poor decisions. It's almost like we just give up and keep giving into whatever the thing is for us. We think, this is just who I am now. This is just what I do. I've already made the bad decision, why turn back now? Others of us do our best to hide it. Maybe it's a habit or a boundary we keep crossing, and instead of dealing with it, we just cover it up. Yes, we feel guilty, but we just decide not to deal with it. Or maybe we do something we thought we would never do, but we're confident that we won't do it again. And we decide we won't end up in that place, we won't give in to that temptation, we won't try that thing ever again. But then somehow we do. And once we do, it feels like we're right back where we started. We get stuck where we messed up. We give in to temptation now, and those temptations become patterns that we stay in. They're things that we find ourselves giving into over and over again. And here's what I know for sure. 1, messing up, giving into temptation, can be one of the quickest ways to convince ourselves to give up on our belief and our relationship with God. And then second, we are all 100% for sure going to mess up. So what now? The last few weeks we've been talking about how Jesus, the man who Christians believe was God in a human body, faced temptation. Yes, we face the same pressures we do that we give in all sorts of different temptations. Now, he never gave in to temptations that he faced, but he does know what it feels like to be tempted. And he does have something to say about how we can move forward after we give in. One of his best friends named John recorded a story of Jesus' life. Check out what John wrote down. John writes that Jesus did not come to earth to condemn us. To condemn simply means to give up on, or basically it's another way to say it's over for us. But Jesus didn't come to give up on us when we give in to temptation. He didn't come so that we'd be clear just how mad God is at us for our mess ups and how much trouble we'll be in for failing him. Jesus came to save us from all that punishment we deserve for the ways that we've messed up. He came to save us from our tendency to stay where we give in and instead show us another way to experience life. So what does this really mean for us? Well, here's the good news. If you didn't catch anything else that I've said today, I want you to remember this. When you give in, you can start again. God is a God of second chances. We don't have to stay stuck where we've messed up. We don't have to believe in the lies that tell us that will only ever be the results of our bad decisions that we've made. Jesus wanted to show us that when we think it's over, it's not. When we think we've given in too many times, that he hasn't given up on us. Part of following Jesus is believing that he's the only one that can say, you are condemned. Since he's perfect, he's the only one qualified to call us condemned or to give up on us. And he does the exact opposite. He says we are not condemned. He's the only one with the authority to tell you what's true about you. The only one who could have ever given up on you because you decided to do that. So, what does it look like to move forward and start again? Well, before David wrote something that gives us words we so deeply need when we mess up. David was a man who had some big mess ups, but he also had faith that God would forgive and save people from condemnation. Look at David's approach when he needed to start again. David was writing this in response to one of the biggest mess ups of his life. He was living in the middle of the results of temptation that he had chosen to give into. He slept with a married woman and then had her husband killed. Talk about a big mess up. I would hope none of us are sitting in this reality. And if you are, you need to talk to your landing leader. But regardless of what your story looks like, this approach can apply to all of our lives. David chose not to give up. He chose to start again. You and I can do the same thing. When we give in, we can start again by following David's steps. The first thing you do is you ask for a pure heart. Now, I realize this is kind of old school language, but we know what it looks like. We want a clean conscience, and we want the guilt to be gone. David was asking God for the same thing, and so should we. For some of us, this might mean that we need to ask for forgiveness. We might need to confess to God and someone we trust. We might need to invite someone in to help us head in a different direction. We might not even have to experience some consequences, and we might have to. But when we ask God for a pure heart, we take steps we need to deal with what we have feeling inside. Second, live with a steadfast spirit. Some more old-term language. David is asking God to help him stay focused on what God says is best, and we can do the same. Once we've asked for a pure heart, we're on the road to a new way of life. Then we need to ask God to keep us focused on making good decisions moving forward. We have to decide to make a change and commit to continuing these steps that are necessary to moving forward to what we know that God knows is best. Okay, so here's the thing about all of this. God is the only one who can do it. If you and I try to keep our own hearts pure and try to make consistently solid decisions all on our own, we will fail. We can't just try hard in our own power and keep ourselves focused on what God says is best. We need Jesus' example of how to love God, ourselves, and others to turn us from our tendency to make bad decisions and our habits of staying in what we want to give into. The good news is this: He promised that He would do it. And this is exactly why He said that He came here for us. Regardless of what you've done or how you feel stuck, you need to remember when you give in, you can start over. This is the good news about Jesus. He didn't come to tell us that we're screw-ups. He came to show us how to live life well. He came to show us that even though we're imperfect, because of Him, we can be confident that we get to be with a perfect God forever. And that even now, we can be confident that God always loves us and our mess-ups don't have to define us. If you're looking for a fresh start, talk to your landing leader about how you can get started again.